So I'm going to start with showing you how to import an STL file into Blender and to edit it just enough so that you can fit the piece onto your 3D printer if your 3D printer is too small for the original piece. So let's start by deleting this block here, and then let's import the file STL. I'm going to go here. Now let's start with this right here. Import. Sometimes it's too big to see immediately, you just got to zoom out. There it is. Right here. So I'm going to go to the Z plane so I can see it from above. Now, this is about a foot wide, and my 3D printer can only print about 9 inches. So I'm just going to cut it in half and print both individually. So to do that, I'm going to need to go into edit mode, so you hit tab, and then I'm going to need to click out of it. I can't select it or the knife isn't going to work right. And hit K for knife. Now if you just go ahead and do it now, you could just make this all wobbly line and that just won't work. So you're going to want to hit knife. Then if you hit Z, it'll make the line straight, but it'll just be like all over the place. You can make it straight, but it'll be hard to get it just right. So if you hit K, Z, and C, the K brings up the knife, the Z makes a straight line, and the C locks it to an angle, like so. Then just right click, and then hit enter. That will have cut it in half, but now you need to actually separate the two sides. So to do that, you hit V. See, they're separated. Now you just want to let it go. So you can either hit the left mouse button or hit enter. Now you've let it go. Now to officially separate it, you hit Control, All, and that's chosen a side. I want this to be a part of it, right here. Part of this side, so we're going to have to see if we can get it. There, now I got it. P. Select. Now you tab out and move it. Just one. Perfect. Now if you go ahead into edit mode, you see that it's open. You see right into it. We don't want that because it's not going to print right like that. We're going to have to close it. So to do that, you click Alt and it selects this whole edge here. Then hit F to put a face on it. And Control T to make it divided, but for the type of printing we want square or triangles, and it's already kind of got that, but we want a little bit neater, so Alt J, just a tiny bit neater. Okay, now Alt And click on the new side, F, Control T, and Alt J, like so. And then repeat it again, F, Control T, Alt J. There we go. Now we're going to want the next side, so get out of edit mode, click here, and back in. Now to continue. Oops. And there. So now we could exit out of edit mode, and now both sides have a face on them. And that's all the editing I needed to do for this. Now, if you have to do an even bigger edit than that, and the piece that you want, that you download as an STL file, isn't what you need, but it's really close, it's better to do that in CAD software. But first, let's export this. I'm going to save it. That's the... Actually, before I do that, it's going to be wanting to print the whole thing out if you don't delete one side at a time. It's going to include it in the STL. So you got to delete one side, export it into an STL. For here, I'm going to put it here. I already have that same file, but it's not the file that I want because it's not cut in half. So I'm going to go ahead and save it as the left side, and then export, and Control Z to bring the other half back, and select that one and delete. Then export STL. I'm going to call it the right side. Oop. And there you go. You have the whole thing ready to go in STL. Now, from here, now for those people who don't have AutoCAD because, or would prefer, no, for those people who have experience with AutoCAD and primarily use AutoCAD, AutoCAD wouldn't be good for editing STLs because you can't re-export it as an STL, especially in the more complicated shapes, because of the sheer amount of faces on it. It doesn't like to very easily recombine as a single face, and if it's not a single object, it's not going to export as an STL. So in order to fix that, you have to download some other kind of CAD software. For me, I downloaded Fusion 360. Now, the alterations that I needed to make were for a cat door. I'm printing a cat door, and I could very easily find that design online and print it. But the problem is, I want to make it electrical. So I need to find space within the cat door for the electrical components. So I'm altering the original STL file to be able to put the electrical components inside of it. So here I go to Insert, and I insert Mesh. This allows me to choose any one of these. I'm just going to go ahead and go with Ply 1 and Open. Now from here I hit OK. because if you don't hit OK and you just click somewhere else, it's just going to make the whole thing disappear. It wants you to go ahead and choose its position first before you decide if it's going to actually officially be inserted in there. Now once it's in here, you can't really alter this yet until you put it into a different type of form. So you need to go here and turn this off, otherwise the option for changing isn't going to pop up. And then you can go ahead and click on it, and in bodies this will be highlighted. Left click and go mesh to B-rep, and then hit OK. And there you go. Now you can alter it. Now it's gonna be like this has individual faces. It's gonna be kind of hard to sketch on individual faces, though you can. So just go ahead and delete the individual faces and nice and clean. Do that for all sides. I leave the corners because those are a bit more tedious and you don't really need to mess with those anyway. So you could go ahead and change that if you wanted to. There are other tutorials that'll say that, but personally I think it's not something I need to be spending my time on at the moment. So all the straight surfaces are fine. Now we're just going to alter this whole thing right here. Now you noticed on the other side there were holes. The reason why is because the original design, this is actually cut out for plywood. And the original design intends on having the user just go ahead and insert a screw right into this plywood, which is why there's a starter hole, but it doesn't have anything on the back. I don't really need those because I'm going to go ahead and print the whole thing out. So to make space for the main circuitry, I'm just going to go ahead and open up a rectangle right here. I'm going to first choose a surface to sketch on, then draw a line. I'm just going to make it about 3 millimeters out. Oop, why didn't that go straight? Delete. Wrong button. There we go. Now, this whole thing is 50 across, so I'm going to make the rectangle 44 across. So there'll be 3 millimeters on each side. And I'm going to make it all the way down to here. I don't really need any more space than that. So that would be 44. There we go. 44 by, let's make it an even number, 135. There we go. Now go ahead and click on it so it's highlighted and hit E for extrude. Now go ahead and click this. When this way will add to it, when it's red, it takes from it. If you want to go ahead and add something to it when it's red, you can always go in here and hit join instead. Then it'll add. But for now, I want to cut. And then hit OK. Now that'll give me space for the electrical components. But I still have a switch that I need to put in here. And this switch, it's going to have a solenoid and a spring. We're going to have to make enough space for the solenoid to be enough distance away from the switch for it to turn it enough to unlock the door. So let's see, I've got a spring here that is about 72 millimeters in length. So we want it to start out with 72 millimeters, and the height of the solenoid is going to be 25 millimeters in height, and it's going to be at a slanted angle. And the screw going through the middle of it is going to be a 6 millimeter screw. So first, in order to make sure we put all the components in the right spot, we got to start with the placing of the screw. In order to do that, got to insert another ply. That'll be ply 3, open. Now let's go to the back. See, there's the hole for the 6 millimeter. Here it's gonna be 7 millimeter to make sure there's plenty of room for it to move freely. So now hit OK, and then click on the back one and hit sketch, so that when you draw the circle that you're going to be cutting out of here, it's going to cut out of this. It'll be drawn on here and not here. So go ahead and hit this, and then right in the center, that'll be about, this one is 6.6 millimeters, that's correct. And that's all we need, really. There's still plenty of space. And then click on that to extrude and hit enter. And then just go ahead and delete this. We don't need it anymore. Okay, so now we know where to start. We're going to have a little bracket, in a Z-shaped bracket, attached to the screw, and that's going to have the spring and a magnet attached to it. This Z-shaped, the top of the Z-shaped bracket is going to be 12 millimeters in height. So let's sketch that out here. It's going to have to be placed just right, and which means it's going to have to be in the center of this right here. So I'll sketch it right out over here and then move it. So it's going to be 12 millimeters in height, and in thickness it's going to be 1.3 millimeters. Now we're just going to have to go ahead and move it. So we don't need this. Don't need this. Just this. Right click to open up a menu's options where you hit move. This will allow you to move it. Now zoom in to make sure you get it accurate. There we go. Now go ahead and extrude. No, we don't need to extrude. That's right. We just need to figure out how big everything is going to be. Now the spring is going to wrap around on this side, go over this way, and that was 72 millimeters. So we're going to want there to be a line going from here out this way. That is 72. But I'm going to make it just a little bit longer because there's going to be a little circle that it's going to catch onto. So I'm going to make it 74. Oop, that's too much. Enter. Now, in order to make sure that the solenoid reaches properly over here, this needs to be at least a 50-degree angle. Be able to move at least a 50-degree angle to unlock the latch. So that would mean that we need to draw a line starting from here down to here, and then you can see the angle right there. We want to make it at least 50 degrees, so tab over, say 50. And then the length of that would be, oops, let's see here. Would be about 15.3. Now we want the solenoid to be able to touch right here at the very least. So you can make it a little bit further, but it needs to be able to touch. So let's make the solenoid shape. I'll make it right over here. The rectangle, it's going to be 22 by 25. Then we're going to want to rotate it. First, let's get rid of that. So we highlight it, move, then first rotate it 45 degrees. Then finally we move it into place. It needs to be at least right here or a little bit closer. I think this is a good spot to be able to make this turn enough to unlock this. So then you hit enter. Now this is going to have something in it, like a square or something, a base that'll hold it. So I'm just gonna, for now, create a rectangle to represent that. Let's see, let's start it out in the right place. Right here's a good spot. And then, there we go. Now this is the shape that we want to cut out to be able to have room for all the parts that we need for unlocking this door. So now we exit out of that by hitting escape. And now we draw a bigger rectangle to go around all of this and then extrude that rectangle. first I want to move these. They're going to come in handy later. Nope, apparently didn't want to do just those. There we go. Nope, still doesn't. Okay. Cancel that. I guess I'll just make more. Okay. Then we'll make the rectangle start about right here. And go to about right here. And then hit escape. And then highlight all of it and extrude. Oh, we missed a part. There we go. Now we extrude. There we go. Now we got all the space for the components that are going to be going inside of it. Now there are parts that we're going to be needing to print, like the bracket for the solenoid and the circular part for the spring. So let's start with the bracket for the solenoid. I'll have to go ahead and draw the solenoid first, so let's go ahead and start with a sketch. That's 22 by 25. Oh, that's right. Solenoid is circular. Let's delete that again. Create a circle. That's going to be 22. And then extrude that. There we go. Oh, I just realized I put the rectangle in the wrong spot. Let's try this again. Let's see if we can move it without moving everything. I'd have to go in this direction, this length. It unselected some things, so we're going to have to reselect it. That part's all that really matters. Now let's move it. Oh. We're gonna have to see if we can flip it. There we go. Now let's move it. To There we go. There. Hit OK. Now finish the sketch, and we've got a lot to choose here. Now to extrude that. And enter. Now it's on the right side. Now let's go ahead and switch it to the front. There we go. And let's draw that solenoid. So sketch, create circle. It's 22 millimeters wide and 25 in height. Now we want to actually, I didn't need to do that now that I think about it. Now it's going to be 25 in height, so we're just going to make a cube that is 25, or that is 30 wide. Cube that's going to be able to fit in right here. Oop. Let's see here. Rectangle. I'm just going to make that 30 by 30 and extrude that to 30. Now I want to just go ahead and cut that off, so I'm going to make that the next sketch surface. Going to put it at a 45-degree angle. So line, I want to put it about right here. There we go. Now one more line. Oh, that didn't snap all the way across. There we go. Now click on this and extrude. Oh. Sorry, did I mess that up? Okay, there we go. Hit enter. Now we got the part that the solenoid is going to sit in right here. So let's go ahead and sketch that. Circle. Let's move it over a bit. No, we don't need to. Oops. Okay, let's go ahead and put a circle there. It'll be right about there. This will be 25. And let's make it 6 millimeters deep. We don't need it that deep. So extrude and 6. There we go. That's perfect for the solenoid to sit in. Although since the solenoid is exactly 25, we're going to want this circle to be a little bit bigger. So let's put in a circle that's just a little bit bigger. So let's go with 25.3 should be enough. And extrude both of those. Okay. Oh, went too far. There. Now all I have to do is move this into place. But this is only 8 millimeters wide. This is a lot bigger than that. So let's go ahead and make it so that this will fit in here. I'm going to have to make several panels. This is actually wide enough to fit 3 different panels. So that's what I'm going to have to do. And this panel is just going to have this part right here. So let's go ahead and sketch. And then draw a line. Click here. 8. Enter. Then go ahead and draw a rectangle. And extrude that rectangle. Enter. Now that's the piece that we're going to be putting in here. Why it had to move like that is beyond me. Let's see here. Let's try this again. Maybe if I try it from the other side. Nope, still wants to do it that way. Now the problem with dragging this around is it changes the Y coordinate as well. So you're going to have to go back and make sure it's in the right spot. Now that looks good there. So let's look at it from this side. Okay, now we just got to bring it over till it lines up, just like that. And now there's a brace in there. Now the only thing I got left to draw is the circle, and this component will be complete. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go ahead and put it right here. Now I'll put it about right here. Draw a circle. Doesn't need to be very big. Nah, don't want that quite like that. Let's see here. Let's try this again. That looks better. 2 millimeter. Let's go for that, and then draw a line from here over, from here over, like so. Now those are perfect. Okay, go ahead and modify by trimming. Want to trim right there, right there. right there. And there we go. Now we just gotta escape, draw a line from here to here, here to here, and then we can extrude. We don't need it to be very thick. Let's go with 40 millimeters. 0.4 millimeters. There we go. Now that should be all we need to give the spring something to hook onto. And that is it for that component. Now I went ahead and I created all of the other components necessary before this, but I just wanted to show you how you can open an STL file into Fusion 360 and make it, alter it to personalize your own needs, and then just go ahead and export it back out as an STL file. I'm going to save this as test and save, and then export right down here, scroll down, STL file, and then I'm just going to save this in documents and save, export. And there we go, now it's exporting. And you have successfully altered something in, you have successfully altered an STL file in Fusion 360 and printed it back out as an STL file. Now, the next part is, if for this particular project, I went ahead and I'm making it an insert for a window. So I'm adding to the cat door so it can be inserted into a window. That means I'm going to have to make additional parts for it. One of the things that you saw me altering in the Blender program was one of the parts that will allow me to be able to insert this part into a window. But of course there's also a big gap, so I've made a window for that too. Now, you could go ahead and you could do that in AutoCAD, which you're comfortable with, or you can continue doing that in Fusion 360. I continue doing it in Fusion 360 because I could easily upload any of the mesh files that have previously been altered or are just a part of the project, and allow that to help me see how I need to alter or change or even make something in the first place in order to be able to fit the cat door STL that I found online. That wouldn't be so easy to do, but you still can do that in AutoCAD. But I figured once I started with Fusion 360 I'd continue with that. So I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. At the moment, I've done everything except for completed the separators for the window panels, just because my printer can't print out window panels any bigger than 7 inches by 9 inches, and the gap is a lot bigger than that. So I'm going to have separate window panels, and just putting them together is going to kind of look ugly, so I'm going to put like separators in there to make it look just a little bit better. And for the separator, I'm going to start with the one that goes straight down the middle. Now, the middle is going to be about, I'm primarily working in millimeters on this, but unfortunately a lot of the some of the stuff for it is in inches. So like when I measured the window, the original measurements were in inches. So I've had to convert a little bit, so some of the millimeters aren't exactly even. So the window part, the window height that I'm going to be working with is going to be altogether 260.63 in height. That's how the windows are. Now I'm going to be separating them by about 3 millimeters. So I'm going to take 3 millimeters off of that. And then I'm going to divide in half. So each window should be about 128 in height. So that means that this separator that I'm going to make going vertical should be that for each window. But, well no, should be about 260 cut in half for each window. Now 9 inches is about 228.6 millimeters. And I don't want to have the seam for the separator exact where the seam for the window is at. I think that would be, it'll weaken the integrity. So I'm going to make it a little bit off. So I'm going to make the this particular separator is going to be about 225 in length. That should fit nicely on my printer platform. So let's go ahead and start with a sketch. And here I'm going to be, oh no, that's not what I wanted. I want this right here. There we go. I'm going to be making the outline for the shape first before I extrude it into how long it is. And the outline is gonna kind of look like a house. So I want I want it to be about 6 millimeters altogether this way. Oh wait. The rectangle. This way. And about 1.5 this way. Now I'm going to go ahead and make another square right here. It's going to be the length of the thickness of the window. So that's going to be about 1.5. Oh no, that's right. There's going to be a separation of 3 inches. So we want this to be a little bit longer. So it's going to be 9 millimeters by 1.5. And then we're gonna go ahead and make a line that'll bring us 3 millimeters in, create a rectangle. Now this is gonna be about 3 millimeters by 4.85 for the width of the window. Go ahead and hit enter. Now we're going to go ahead and draw the top outside. That one's going to be triangles, because this part's going to be on the inside and this part's going to be on the outside. It's going to help to protect against weather. So just going to draw a line. It's going to go straight up about 1.5 inches. Straight this way. Oh. There we go. About 4.5 inches. And then connect them. And then mirror this line and this line. About right here. And hit OK. Now that's the shape that we're going for, and we want it to be extruded. About 225. Now that's going to be the insert. Now one side is going to be sticking up into the window frame, so we're going to want a little thing here at the end. So we're going to make this right here. Another sketch. Create a rectangle. It's going to be slightly smaller than this right here, to make sure that it fits inside the frame. Okay, now we go ahead and extrude. About 12.5 millimeters. And that should be enough for it to be in the window frame. No, that's right. Need to take 3 millimeters off of that. So that was going to be 9.5. Okay, now since this is longer than the height of the window, I'm gonna have to make a space at some point of the length of this spacer to accommodate for the other spacers coming this way. Now to find out where that is, I first take the height of the window, which is 130.315, and I subtract 3 millimeters from it. That should put the distance that I want to start working at 125 or 127.315. No, wait a moment. .815 is where it needs to be at. Now I want to start working from the bottom because it's easier to make a sketch surface from there. Okay, now let's start with a line. Let's not include that at the top. It'll just make it easier to snap it. So that would be from here, would be 116.315. Oh, I didn't click it. 116.315. Right there. Now I want to make a rectangle right there. That is, oops, that's not a rectangle. That is 3 millimeters wide and 4.9 long. And then draw a line. It's 3 millimeters this way. And do another rectangle, just like the last. Now, I want to click on both of them. Oh. Hit Shift to select both. And then hit E and extrude. Now you can see spaces are made for the other spacers. Actually, I think I might need to change the length of this. I forgot how wide I made this. It was 9 millimeters, not 4.9. Okay, so 3, 9. Do a similar rectangle right over this way. Oh. Three millimeters apart from the last one. Now hit Shift to select both. then E to extrude. And enter. There. Now we have the slots that the other spacers are going to go into. The horizontal spacers will go into. Okay, once I have everything made and everything altered, I'm just going to go ahead and put it all together and see how it looks like. So and this is the basic design. This panel right here, they're all going to be clear, and so is the actual door, the flaps the cat's going to come through is going to be clear. I know some of you are probably wondering, why didn't I just get plexiglass? That's because when I'm printing it out, I'm going to be putting paint for painted glass inside of the hexagons. I can make a unique design like that. Well, that's it for this. I will update the final construction once I have everything fixed.